Hello, I'm Jonathan, and in this introduction to AI video for NILC, I'm going to look at how you can boost your productivity using ChatGPT and Copilot. So, not only will you learn how to use these tools, but hopefully you'll pick up a few ideas of the sort of things that you can do, the tasks that you can carry out in your day-to-day work. So, let's get straight into it and look at the first use case, and that is creating images and photos. So you can use either of the tools to do this, and you can create pretty much any image or photo from scratch. But interestingly, you can also include brand elements such as your logo or icons, etc., which really give it a branded look and a customized bespoke look. Very, very useful indeed when you're creating marketing materials, whether that's for the web or for print media. If you don't want to use ChatGPT or Copilot, you can also use Meta AI. That's quite good on image curation. And when it comes to editing photos, you can also use ChatGPT for that. So, for example, to make a background transparent. So let's look at a particular example that I set up earlier on ChatGPT, and you will see in this example that I have uploaded a couple of icons representing NILC from their website, the NILC logo, and my prompt is create image, create a hyper realistic photo of Piccadilly Circus, including a billboard ad using NILC logo attached and icons attached. Add the text, learn with us. So you can see the logo there, you can see the icons, perhaps an extra icon there, and you can see it's added the text with no spelling mistakes. So the image generation has really improved in recent times. I think overall you would say that this photo is pretty realistic. Perhaps the billboard itself isn't 100% right, but really for a quick prompt, it's not too bad at all. And of course, don't forget you could carry on working, adding more prompts to refine the photo until you actually got what you wanted. And when you're ready, you can just click that to download. Just one point in terms of getting the create image there, it's a good idea to select the three dots and select create image so that ChatGPT understands what you're trying to achieve here. So there we go. The first use case using ChatGPT, creating an image, bespoke image for your organization. So for this second use case, we're going to look at creating marketing content from existing materials. So essentially repurposing content. So you've probably got a lot of valuable content around your organization. So why not get it out there and your audience can benefit from it? So you can use Copilot or ChatGPT for this. In this example, we're going to use Copilot. So examples would be blogs, articles, social media posts, even email newsletters from content such as meeting transcripts, PowerPoint slide presentations that you've got, meeting notes, anything like that, as long as it is value type content that can be repurposed for your audience. So we are going to use Copilot. I'm going to show you that in a minute, and we're going to create a blog post from a PowerPoint presentation. And we're actually going to use this PowerPoint presentation to do that. So just a couple of extra tips. You can actually use Copilot in OneDrive to create FAQs if you use the web version of OneDrive, and you can actually do that without opening the file itself, which can be quite useful. And if you use ChatGPT's projects, which we looked at in module 1, then you can get ChatGPT to focus and concentrate on the task in hand. So whether that's creating blog posts or creating social media posts and so on. So let's just go over to Copilot now and have a look at what I created earlier. So my prompt was create a 500-word blog post aimed at small business owners using this presentation, and there is the title of the presentation. And you can see it's put in a heading, subheadings here from the presentation, and we've got some bullet points there, quite useful, some information on the boosting productivity, which is what we're going through now, and some practical tips. And you'll note that it's actually addressed those specifically for small business owners, finishing off with a conclusion. So, job done there by Copilot. So one task that many workers get help with using AI is summarization. So whether you have a document, could be PDF, could be Word, a website, or you can even copy and paste text, a large volume of text, let's say, directly into the prompt area of ChatGPT or Copilot, it does a really good job at summarizing it. Now, on mobile, things are taken a step further and it's made even easier when it comes to websites and emails. So let's take a look at that. So if we look at my phone here, we have the NILC support services section, and you'll notice on the top left of the browser address bar, we've got a Copilot button here. So this is really useful and a great time saver because all I need to do, as you'll see, is click this button. No need to enter any instructions or there's no prompt area, but it just instantly with that button click has created a summary of this web page. So really, really handy. And this feature is also available on Copilot in your emails. So summarization, really useful. Give it a try. So if you work in recruitment, you may well find this use case particularly helpful. So if you're using tools like ChatGPT and Copilot, one of the things that you can do is compare documents or compare files, which means you can compare one or more CV with each other to see which is the most suitable candidate. And you can even compare a CV with a job description to see how well they align. So let's have a look at ChatGPT first of all to see how we would go about this. So what you do is either drag and drop in the files to the prompt area or use the upload box to upload your job description and in this case my CV. And then we've got a prompt here. So the prompt says compare the following CV to the job description provided. That's really the nuts and bolts on it. And I've gone into more detail by saying identify the key skills, experience and qualifications mentioned in the job description and highlight where these are demonstrated in the CV. So point out any significant gaps or areas where the CV could be strengthened to better match the requirements. So exactly the sort of thing that if you were reviewing a CV against a job description you would do. But in this case, we're going to get ChatGPT to do it for us and off it goes to perform that comparison. So this is one way of doing it by uploading files. You could also do it by copying and pasting. And then when we have a look at OneDrive in a second, you can actually use Copilot within OneDrive to perform a comparison without even opening the files, as we will see. But let's see how ChatGPT is getting on here. So we've got key skills and experience from the job description. Then we've got match skills there. So a really good sort of in-depth comparison. We've got gaps or areas to strengthen, and I assume, yeah, it's continuing to produce the report. And then we finished with a nice summary assessment, strong candidate, particularly communications, brings deeper training in delivery, customization, internal communications. However, lacks direct experience with visual files, SOS, true, doesn't currently list legal sector experience, true, location, relocation may be a barrier unless clarified. And then we've got some suggestions to strengthen the CV here. So this is interesting because if you were the actual candidate and ran this prompt against the job description, this would give you some clues, obviously without faking it, but give you some clues as to perhaps where you could strengthen up your CV. And if you were the recruiter, then you'd be looking for a CV that essentially fills these gaps. So all in all, pretty useful and detailed comparison there. So let's go over to OneDrive. Now we're in the My Files area of OneDrive on the web, and you'll see that I've checked a couple of files here. So exactly the same CV that we had on ChatGPT and exactly the same job description. So what we can do is go to Copilot on the top left there, and we can click this option to compare files. Now, what's interesting here is that we haven't actually got to open the files and we haven't got to move them anywhere. We haven't got to upload them anywhere. So it's a really quick and easy way of comparing, in this case, a CV with a job description, but ultimately comparing any two or more. I think there is a limit. I think you might be able to compare up to five, but comparing files and documents. And it's now created a really handy table showing names and titles of the document, authors of the document, and we've got a description of the document at the top, and it's broken it into segments like focus, skills, experience, education, and so on. So quite a handy, neat little description all generated in a pop-up. And of course, as is always the case with AI, you can go further and ask more questions if you want to continue the conversation. And you could do that after the ChatGPT did the file comparison as well. So there we go, using ChatGPT and Copilot to compare documents if you work in recruitment.